there, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Friday Night Spotlight. This is officially our complete playoff edition. As always, our show is brought to you by 911 Air Repair, your local air conditioning expert specializing in maintenance, repair, and new installations. As I mentioned, this is our playoff edition. Again, this week we have three teams in action on Thursday. All of our games are on Thursday this week, not Friday, Thursday, just to drill that into your guys' head. We're going to start from the bottom up. And we're going to start it with our 2A team. Santa Cruz Valley last week defeated Tombstone 49-14. They are now advancing on to the quarterfinals of the state tournament, and they will now be at number 3, Phoenix Scottsdale Christian. David, you had a chance to see Santa Cruz last week. How did they defeat Tombstone?
They defeated Tombstone with a dominant offense. I really started to wake up after. When I was talking to head coach Thomas Cortez, he said the big key for his team was to start fast and not start sluggish, but that's exactly what they didn't do. They started sluggish. They were not able to kind of get control of the game very early. Tombstone went up 14-0 very quickly, but with that, the team was able to kind of settle down and go back to what they do best, and that is just having a dominant offense that can beat you both with throwing the ball and running the ball, and they certainly did it, and they led it to a dominating fashion. So again, this week, what I'm assuming is going to be the case is that they want to start fast. They want to be able to take control of the game early, and it's going to be tough against this tough Scottsdale Christian team, but they're going to have to rise up to the level of competition. We've seen this before. They've been able to compete with some top teams in 2A, and they are one of the top teams in 2A as well. But we've seen it against Pima, where sometimes it kind of gets away from them a little bit, and they kind of give up some late scores that kind of gets the game out of hand for them. So they're going to have to start out fast and control the tempo of the game as much as possible. I think Nathan Harris needs to continue to step up and elevate himself. He did it last week. Needs to do it again. Jonathan Ramos has done a really good job for them as a running back, and then Aiden Isagiri has done a really good job as well. That's kind of the 1-2 punch right now at running back. Isagiri's more the power back and he's going to just bully his way towards the first down. And then Jonathan Ramos is the quick and shifty guy. He's going to be able to move around and maneuver really easily and get through and make blockers miss. So that's going to be the big key for them on offense. Their defense is just as dangerous. Their defense is really solid when they get right, so they have to be right all game. They need to start fast. If they do that, they have a good chance of moving on and continuing to exceed expectations in 2A.
All right, now looking at Scottsdale Christian, they got here because they beat number 14 Wilcox 49-7, and there's a lot of similarities between these two teams, between Santa Cruz and Scottsdale Christian, both offensively, defensively. Looking at Scottsdale Christian's offense last week, Jack Atkinson, 247 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Jacob Tapp and Andrew Tapp were his go-to guys. Andrew Tapp on the receiving end, 115 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, and then Jacob led the rushing attack with 141 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Defensively, you got to look out for 2 guys, in Caleb Randall and Everett Salazar. They nearly racked up 30 tackles between just the 2 of them. Each of them had a sack, and as a team as a whole, this Scottsdale Christian's team is really good at forcing those turnovers. They have 14 fumble recoveries, 17 interceptions, and it's going to be key here. Santa Cruz hasn't really seen a team that's really parallel with what they can do. It's either they're really heavy on running the ball or passing the ball, but like I mentioned, Scottsdale Christian brings that equal balance much like they do. So it's going to be interesting to see just how they make these adjustments and how they handle moving on into the playoffs, because a lot of these guys, this is the first for them. Making it this far and just the whole experience, it's something new. Transitioning over to our next game, we are moving on up to our 4A team, and big surprise here, number 15, Poston Butte. For most of the season, they were out of that top 16 ranking, but they did just enough to surprise everybody and secure this number 15 spot. They have a very difficult task. They are going up against undefeated 10-0, number 2, Oro Valley Canyon del Oro. And David, what about this Broncos team?
Yeah, well, like you mentioned, it was a shock to a lot of people, and it's no credit or it's no knock on Poston Butte for what they were able to do here. I mean, it's just we weren't necessarily expecting this, but it's a great opportunity for them to be able to squeak into the playoffs like this. And the big thing is this is a huge success because they're without their best player. Ja'Kai Robinson went down for the year. He's not with the team anymore. He's just injured right now, but he's not going to be able to be on the field. And they were able to do this still. They were able to kind of get their wits about them and be able to make it to the playoffs. I'm not expecting too much. The Canyon del Oro is going to be a very tough team for them to face, especially going on the road, going down towards Tucson. It's a 2-seeded team, so Poston Butte's going to have to just play their best game of the year. That's really just kind of what's going to come down to it. They have to be on top of their game. game. They have to be able to kind of continue to try to do what they do best, which is continue to run the ball. And the good thing about, yes, Ja'Kai Robinson is out, but they have a very deep running back room. They always do. So guys are going to step up for this team. I think Coach Dane Thompson is one of the best football coaches that Canal County has to offer. So he is definitely going to try and lead his group to a great chance here of maybe shocking some more people if they're able to get this upset. But I just expect them to have a very tough and competitive game and continue to just show why Poston Butte shouldn't be an afterthought. They made it to the to the 4A state championship in 2021 against Casa Grande. It's been they're trying to find their pieces still after that moment, but I think right now it's a huge confidence boost for them. They were able to make it to the playoffs, sets themselves up for success in the future as well.
All right, the thing about CDO is for a couple of weeks they were in the open conversation here. So this is a very skilled team, and the thing here is they really like to run the ball. The whole offense goes through Caden Luke, over 1,300 rushing yards, 18 touchdowns. He's averaging 10 yards per carry. And like Poston Butte, their forte is running the ball. So whoever controls the clock here is the team that's going to win, because they both like running the ball, and whoever eats it up most, controls most of the possession, that's going to be key here. Looking at CDO defensively as a team, they have 32 sacks for 141 yards. This is key. Like we've mentioned, hey, Poston Butte's run game, it's all about their backfield, and can the offense open up those holes for all these different guys to just break through? But with CDO being able to block that and just get back after them, it's going to be pretty difficult. So I think they're going to have to turn a little bit more to Mason Lloyd and see what he can do with his arm in the air. I know that's not Poston Butte's go-to or forte, but this might be the key here for them if they want to try to make this game competitive. Moving on to our last and final game, it is up in the 5A conference, and that is number 12 CG Union at number 5 Glendale Apollo. David, start us off with CG Union.
Yeah, well, CG Union got here because of a big win last week against Buena. It was a region rival. This game kind of decided who was going to make it in the playoffs, or who was going to. It was CG Union's fate in their hands. They had to win that game in order to safely secure a playoff spot. They were able to do so, and I think CG Union, the entire conversation this entire year has been, what CG Union team shows up on game day? Is it the team that's going to be able to have stifling defense and really good offensive performances from its skill players, or is it going to be the team that is constantly penalized and shooting themselves in the foot? That's going to be another question going into the playoffs here. Apollo is definitely going to take it to them. That is not going to be an easy game for them, but CG Union, I think, has the ability to rise up to the challenge here. Torner Gann has continued to prove why he is the starting quarterback for this team, and he has done a really solid job so far. He just has to keep it up as much as they can. Their defensive line has really picked it up. That was the key for them winning against Buena last week. They were able to force a fumble and secure the win after going up against Buena last week, so that defensive line and the entire defense as a whole is going to have to continue their ride and continue their success so far. And CG Union, Mark Luna has always said, they just have to get in. That's always been their mindset, is if they can get in, things can happen. The playoffs are always unpredictable, so I expect them to play their best game here and really just kind of take it to this team and see what they can do here. If not, if it doesn't come out the way they want it to, at least they're able to continue to build this confidence up for the future and have success later on.
Looking at Apollo, they bring a pretty balanced offense. Quarterback Silas Stevenson, just around 1,100 passing yards, 12 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's not really a big passing guy. This team and Apollo isn't, but whenever he has to, he's pretty much on the money. He has a 68% completion rate. Running back Adam Muhammad, 1,400 rushing yards, 26 touchdowns. So you don't really know what they're going to do, but whatever they are doing, it's working for them to be able to secure the number 5 seed. Defensively, they are led by Damian Cavalier, 10 sacks for 61 yards. Key here, like David mentioned, Torner Gann is really a great quarterback for CG Union, does a fantastic job of staying in the pocket, being out of the pocket, and trying to extend the plays. But I think the key here is going to be CG Union's defense. What can the Cougars do to just limit Apollo? Like I've mentioned, they've pretty much been automatic with all the little things they do. So the key here is, like David mentioned, what can they do to play a clean game? Because that's going to be the key here. Play a clean game, limit the penalties, and you know what? They might be able to come away with the win. Like David mentioned, who knows what team will show up, so we will have to wait and see. how all of these games turn out. Real quickly, we got to talk about our picks battle here. We have wrapped up our regular season, so finally, the guy who talks the big game was able to back it up. David, anything you want to mention?
You still have to refer me as champion. You still have to do that.
For all the people there, I do not agree to this.
She did. Don't let her lie to you. She did. I'm the
But-
champion.
Anyways, as always, be sure to check out Canal Central for all of your local sports coverage.